This man screaming in pain, the one I've got pinned across the hood of my own car, thought he could drag my wife out of our lake cabin like she didn't belong there. And the other one, the one still gripping her arm in shock, never expected a retired Navy SEAL to walk out of the tree in behind them. 5 minutes later, both of them would regret ever stepping foot on my property. Before we dive in, comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. To understand how this happened, you need the truth about why they came for her. Because this wasn't an accident, and it wasn't a misunderstanding. It started with a woman named Marcia Denning, the HOA president of Lakewood Shores. Marcia wasn't just controlling. She was obsessed. Obsessed with rules, obsessed with titles, obsessed with owning every inch of shoreline she could sink her claws into. And our cabin, it sat on the best part of the lake. Quiet water, a private dock, a sunrise view that felt like God painted it himself. We'd owned the cabin long before the HOA ever existed. Back when the lake was nothing but fishermen, ducks, and pine trees. But Marca wanted it not to live in, not to enjoy. She wanted it for money. She was secretly running a high-end lakeside rental program under the HOA's name, pocketing the cash and calling it community revenue. Our cabin was the one piece she couldn't list on her website, and that drove her insane. First came the letters, then the fake violations, then the threats disguised as shoreline regulation notices. My wife, Elena, didn't budge. She's calm, smart, and firm, and she knows the law better than Marca ever will. Every time Marcia sent a threat, Elena sent back a copy of our deed with the same message. This land is not under HOA jurisdiction. And every time she did, Marca got angrier. Then came the morning. Everything snapped. A quiet Saturday. Elena opened the windows, turned on the kettle, and stepped out to sweep the porch. That's when the SUV rolled up. Dark gray, pretending to be official. Blue reflective tape slapped on the sides, like a kid's craft project. 2 men stepped out. Uniforms too clean, badges too fake, vests stitched with crooked letters. HOA cop. Elena blinked. "Can I help you?" The bald one didn't answer. He grabbed her wrist hard enough to twist her skin. "This property is being repossessed," he barked. "You're trespassing on HOA-controlled land." Elena yanked her arm back. "This land is not HOA property. Let go now." But the second man, slick back hair and cheap cologne, stepped behind her, gripped her upper arm, and hissed. "The president wants this place cleared today. You're done arguing." They tried dragging her off the porch, and that's when I heard her. That single sharp gasp of pain. I came out of the woods fast, boots silent on pine needles. The bald one never saw me. One precise elbow to his spine sent him collapsing forward onto the hood of their fake patrol SUV. I grabbed the back of his vest and slammed him down again before he could breathe. He screamed. The other fake cop froze, still clutching Elena's arm. The second guy's eyes darted between me and the bald one I had pinned to the hood. He tightened his grip on Elena like she was a shield, a mistake that sealed his fate. "Elena," I said calmly, "drop your weight." She trusted me instantly. Her knees bent, her body sagged, and the slick-haired idiot wasn't ready for it. The sudden shift pulled him forward, exposed, off balance. I moved. My right hand left Baldy's vest, and I launched toward the slick-haired one with the kind of speed you only get after years in teams that don't miss. He tried to pull Elena with him as he stumbled back, desperate to use her as leverage. Another mistake. I caught his wrist mid-pull, twisted hard, and Elena slipped free as he screamed. He spun wild and panicking, trying to swing at me with his free hand. I ducked, hammered my elbow into his ribs, and felt bone crack under the hit. A sharp hollow snap. He gasped, dropped to one knee, both hands clutching his side. But I wasn't done. He tried to scramble away, crawling toward the trees like some wounded animal. Elena backed up, holding her bruised arm close, but even shaken, she whispered, "Finish him." I did. I grabbed his ankle, yanked him back across the gravel, and flipped him onto his back. His eyes widened in terror as I climbed over him and drove 2 clean punches into his jaw. Precision hits, naval training hits. His head bounced off the dirt. Lights out. I stood, chest heaving, turning back toward Baldy, who was still pinned over the car hood, trying to push himself up. He didn't get far. I wrapped my hand in the collar of his vest and ripped him backward, slamming him onto the ground hard enough to knock the wind out of him. He gasped, trying to roll away. "No!" I growled, stepping on his chest to pin him down. He tried to swing up at my leg. Wrong move. I wrapped the chain, the same chain I'd been using by the shoreline, around my fist, and drove a steel-wrapped hook right into the side of his face. He choked on a grunt, body stiffening. One more blow and his arm flew up in a pathetic attempt to block. But I caught it twisted and heard the joint pop. He shrieked. Elena watched from the porch, hand over her mouth, not in fear, but in disbelief. "These guys tried to drag you away," I told her quietly. "They picked this fight." Baldy's breathing was ragged now, shaky, desperate. "I didn't hit him again." I crouched over him, grabbed a fistful of his shirt, lifted his head off the dirt, and hissed, "You lay hands on my wife. You answer to me." Behind me, the slick-haired one was still unconscious, blood trickling from his busted lip onto the gravel. Both fake cops down, both unable to stand, both regretting every choice that brought them here. If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, like and subscribe, because the story is only going to get better. The bald one lay beneath my boot, wheezing through broken pride and cracked bone. The slick-haired idiot was still unconscious in the dirt, limbs twisted where he fell. Elena stepped beside me, bruised but standing tall. And that's when I finally reached for my phone. Not with panic, not with fear, but with the calm of a man who's been in worse fights in worse places. I dialed the county sheriff's direct line because folks around Lakewood knew exactly who I was, and I didn't call unless something serious happened. Sheriff Briggs, a familiar voice, answered. "It's Cole," I said. "2 men posing as HOA cops assaulted my wife. They're down. You'll want to bring an ambulance in cuffs." There was a beat of silence. "On my way." 5 minutes later, we heard the sirens cutting through the trees. Sheriff Briggs's truck rolled up first, dust kicking up behind him. 2 deputy SUVs followed, lights flashing across the lake. The second Briggs stepped out and saw the scene. The fake patrol SUV, the unconscious man, the other one holding his broken arm, his jaw clenched. "What the hell happened here?" he asked. I raised my hand slightly, not in surrender, but transparency. "They attacked Elena, tried dragging her off our property." I intervened. Briggs turned to Elena, his voice softened instantly. "Ma'am, is that true?" She nodded, lifting her bruised arm. "They grabbed me, said they were repossessing our cabin for the HOA." Briggs's expression turned cold and deadly. "Repossessing? This isn't HOA land. Not even close." One deputy cuffed Baldy, who screamed when they moved his broken shoulder. Another rolled slick hair onto his back and checked his pulse before securing his wrists, too. Briggs crouched beside Baldy. "You boys know impersonating law enforcement is a felony in this state, right?" Baldy swallowed, sweat pouring down his face. "She told us to do it." "Who?" Briggs demanded. "Marcia," he groaned. "Marcia Denning. She said we had authority." Briggs stood slowly, eyes blazing. "That woman's been a problem for a while," he muttered. Then louder. "Both of you are under arrest for assault, kidnapping attempt, impersonation of an officer trespassing, and conspiracy." they cried. Literally cried. The ambulance arrived next. EMTs loaded both men in, neck braces and all. Elena watched quietly, each breath steadier than the last. Briggs stepped closer to me. "You didn't start this," he said. "You ended it, and from the looks of these clowns, you ended it clean." I nodded once. "What about Marcia?" Elena asked. Briggs smirked. "Oh, she's next." And she was. By sunset, deputies served a full warrant at her home. Her laptop, financial books, and rental logs were seized. Neighbors gathered on the street as Marcia Denning, Queen of Lakewood Shores, was placed in the back of a patrol car looking like she'd swallowed a lemon. The news spread in hours. Her illegal rental scheme exposed. Her forcing residents off private land exposed. Her fake HOA enforcement unit exposed. By the next HOA meeting, she was removed unanimously. By morning, she faced 7 felony charges, $42,000 in restitution, permanent ban from any HOA board. Elena and I sat on our porch that night, listening to the water lap against the dock, peaceful again. She leaned against my shoulder. "You always show up right when I need you," she whispered. I kissed her forehead always. Because that day, 2 fake cops learned something real. You don't drag a Navy SEAL's wife off her own property and walk away unbroken. What do you think, folks? Was I too lenient, or would you have done worse if someone grabbed your wife? Tell me in the comments. The end.